This is your pal here, Matthew Bimmin, or Bimmin83 or whatever, back again with another video. And my brother came over here and he talked about Joe Rogan and everything, and I asked his podcast actually, asked him, where did you listen to iTunes? He said iTunes. Then he said, um, like Podcast One. I never knew what podcast one, so I wrote down the address to look it up. Man, they got tons of stuff: sports, politics, Steve Austin show, Charles Jericho, and Pauly Show has his own podcast. What would a former stoner from MTV, and I remember it, named Pauly Shore has his own podcast? All I remember from Pauly Shore is that on MTV, to those kids don't know who I'm talking about, Pauly Shore was a huge MTV star. I mean, huge back in the late 80s, early 90s, well, 80s and 90s, with being a weasel. Yeah, he called himself as the second person. And he was huge. So, there was him. And again, I'm thinking about doing podcast one. And I never listened to a podcast before. Swear to God. If I had my own podcast, I would screw that up. So there's that, and also tonight's the Royal Rumble. I'm going through my head what's going to happen in the Rumble match and the title match. First off, we know the Ascension will win against the New Age Outlaws. We know that um anything can happen over there. But I predict John Cena will win, and like I said, either Seth Rollins will catch his Money in the Bank or not. It's hard to be seen. But in the Royal Rumble match, I've made my prediction. But what if a surprise entrant won the Royal Rumble? It could happen. Let's say, for instance, I don't know, Bubba Ray Dudley might come back and win the Royal Rumble. He might be the first person to win the Royal Rumble. Remember, he was a former TNA champ. If he becomes WWE World Heavyweight Champion, that would set the bar high for him. So that's tonight's the Royal Rumble. And I give my thoughts on tomorrow. I would do my thoughts or two projects I'm working on, either Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know. So hang tight to do that. So long for the broadcast day, and go Mets. Mets. Mets.